unless a rainstorm would break out. And then the clatter of the rain on that corrugated metal roof had us all awake until the storm was over. There was no great distance to get to anywhere of importance in Fort William, one of the great advantages in living there. And you knew everybody and were known by everybody. And people had fun together. I could have been no more than 5 years of age when I decided I didn't want to come in for dinner when it was dinner time. My sister Dorothy called me, and then she ran to get me. Well, I climbed up a tree, and she couldn't follow me. So she went in to get Dad, and I knew Dad would be probably cross with me. So I climbed down out of the tree in a hurry, and got in the back seat of his car, which was parked right at the front door, and lay down on the floor. And Dad came out and whistled. Well, Dad's whistle was renowned through the lake yet. It could be heard miles away. And usually it meant my immediately return to home, or when I did get at home, there was a bottle of castor oil and a spoon at my place, and I could do nothing, have nothing to eat until I had my castor oil. And if there's anything in this world I have ever detested and still detest, it's castor oil. It makes you want to regurgitate the instant it passes your palate. Oh, it's awful stuff. Awful stuff. Well, anyway, I guess I was tired. I fell asleep, didn't pay any attention to Dad's whistling. And time passed, and the family started to get nervous as to where I was. So Dad, Dorothy and Mother took one car and started hunting for me. And Dad got in his car and started hunting for me. And by golly, hours passed. They regathered, had a cup of coffee. They called the radio station and asked that a bulletin go out that a missing boy. Dad got in touch with his friend, the chief of police, and the police force was alerted. They were about to call out the cadets and the scouts when we were driving down the street, and I don't know whether it was Marion or Dorothy, I may have, who was in the other car, reversed. We're walking along Victoria Avenue, and Dad stopped and says, "Jump in the back, I'll take you home, we'll have another cup of coffee, and then we'll go out and hunt some more." So Marion, or whoever it was, got in the car and says, "Where'd you find him?" Dad says, "I haven't found him." "Well, he's right here." Oh, Dad looked over the back of the front seat, and we highballed for home, and I thought, oh, now I'm for it. Oh, I'm for it. But they were so pleased to have found me safe and sound that all they did was hug me and kiss me, and all was forgiven. I got away with murder that day. And the next day, a headline on the front page story. The headline says, "One on GR." And they wrote up the story about, about the thrill that young Galen had given his father and his family. And that was the kind of a town it was. It was just great. Of course, it was a great rival with Port Arthur. Port Arthur and Fort William, in my Dad's mind, someday, inevitably, had to grow together. To the extent that, well, the rivalry was such that the Fort William streetcar would drive out to Intercity, go around a loop, and let you out. No transfers. Another ticket, you got on the same loop, the Port Arthur streetcar, and that took you over to Port Arthur. No way was there a Lakehead transportation. The rivalry showed up, particularly well in sporting events. I was involved in the rowing rivalry, but the big rivalry, of course, was hockey. And for 19 out of 25 years, it was the Lakehead team or the team that beat the Lakehead team that won the Allen Cup, which was the big trophy. It was a bigger trophy than the Stanley Cup back in those days. Stanley Cup really hadn't built up any legend and lore to the extent that the Allen Cup had. Anyway, the thought of one metropolitan area so bugged Dad, who was in real estate, that he figured inevitably they'll grow together. This can't go on forever. So he quietly bought up pretty much all of the land between the two cities. It is popularly known as Intercity, but Dad had it all surveyed, marked out, and subdivided, and it's still in the registry office at Thunder Bay as Duncan's Union Center. Dad paid taxes on all of that land until he just grew absolutely tired of it and let the entire thing go to tax sale. A few years after which, what he had predicted started to happen. And today it's pretty well built up between the two centers. There still is a little bit of a demarcation because there's the exhibition grounds and a few other things that are big space occupiers. But what Dad foresaw in the way of commercial, industrial, and residential development, it's all there now. He was right in his thinking and wrong in his timing. And I guess that cost him a pretty penny. The first woman to cross the bridge. It was Bytown in those days. They were building the bridge to connect Hull. It was going to be a railway bridge to connect Hull, railway, and pedestrian and cart traffic. To connect Hull and Ottawa. Within gunshot, within stone's throw almost, of Parliament Hill, across the Ottawa River. And they cantilevered out from both sides. And your grandmother and grandfather were engaged. Grandpa was up in Ottawa visiting friends, but up there to visit Grandma. And they went for a walk, and they walked along the banks of the Ottawa. And your grandpa said to your grandma, "Let's get adventuresome. Look, there's a set of planks between the cantilever on the Ottawa side and the cantilever on the Hull side. Let's walk over to Hull." And so they did. They hopscotched,
Hopscotch.
yeah, from tie to tie along the railway track that had been laid out, and came to the planks And your grandfather held out his hand and led your grandmother across the planks, and they hopscotched the rest of the way into Hull.